Chit. Oh, Chit, what is going on, Chatamaran? Welcome back to another Therapy Thursday. I hit my microphone cable. Hopefully it's not screwing anything up. Anyway, welcome. Yeah, like I said, Therapy Thursday here, Kilted Pork, twitch.tv/Kilted_Pork. Sorry, I'm a little bit out of it today, you guys. I'll go over that in a little bit. If you don't know what Therapy Thursday is, it's every Thursday we get together with my sister Asteria and sometimes other people, which we'll have today, and we discuss mental health topics and whatever's going on in our lives and other people's lives. So if you have any mental health questions, or you got anything that's bothering you, or you're feeling a certain way and you want to figure out what's happening, we encourage those to drop their questions into chat, and we'll discuss them here live and hopefully give you some sort of guidance or explain whatever's going on and how to possibly solve it. And you go, well, what makes you, or what makes you so qualified? I am not qualified to speak on this very much, except for my own experiences. But my sister Asteria is a professional licensed therapist. I'll let her give her whole spiel when we bring her in here. Sorry, I had the music up that whole time. Again, I'm out of it. So that being said, let's bring in the guests.
Yeah, tell me more about that.
That did not sound very promising.
You just got here.
Alright, so just dump that luggage right here and let's unpack it right now.
Oh man, there's definitely a dump that may be happening.
Sir,
No.
how long has this been live for?
Well, I start talking at the 5-minute mark.
Oh, okay.
So from
So
0 to
you
5
really
minutes,
just
yeah.
got here.
So from 0 to 5 minutes on the stream counter, it's just like an opening, or just shows the welcome screen to invite folks in, or just give them a chance to funnel in so they don't like miss anything. And then yeah, at 5 minutes I start going blah 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 blah, blah, and then they're like, oh
just
really?
like that too?
Yeah, and then I bring you guys in.
Oh, okay, just wanted to make sure that's what was going on.
What a
Uh-huh.
great way to get introduced to this. Blah, 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 blah.
That's crazy talk. I think Asteria got it.
It's fucking funny.
That's not crazy talk. This is crazy talk. Blah, blah, blah. Exactly.
Oh, it's fucking funny. Anyway, how are you?
As I stated.
Oh yeah, you're right. I just wanted to get a formal quote of what's going on.
Well, this morning I felt okay, but as soon as around 1 o'clock, everything kind of started not looking so great, and there is good evidence that I might have caught the big old Rona. So,
Oh no.
yeah, it's starting to possibly set in, which is very, very bad considering I had a whole weekend planned for getting ready for this exam on Monday that I was actually, oddly enough, looking forward to, because I thought, I was like, I'm going to ace this shit. I was like really on top of it this last month, and now if my brain's mush, then there goes all my studying, and if I still feel like garbage, I won't be able to take the exam. And from what I hear, there's no makeups for exams, so that's going to be a big old goose egg.
But that's the different if you have fucking corona. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't help that.
They'd be like, well, you should have just stayed inside. I was like, I was inside. I was in the math center where you told me to go.
I was over on the bench. Yeah, like you should no, we'll talk later, but I'm like, there is definitely something that has to take care of that. Like that, you can't miss out on that because of that. That's just redonkulous, to say the least. But my question is how do you know it's that? Did you hear that somebody else had it?
Yes. Last Sunday, Aggie, myself, and 2 of the tutors from the Mass Center all went out for drinks. And the next day at school, one of the tutors didn't show up. I'll just call him Pogmus, because that's his online name.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what the heck? He's not here. We all thought he just like decided not to come in because he had a hangover or something. And then he messaged me like the next day. He's like, bro, I got COVID. Go get checked. I was like, man, this isn't herpes. And like, I'm not going to have to go get checked. Like I'm going to, I was like, if I start feeling something, then I'll check, because I'm not just going to waste a test out of nowhere. So I'm just feeling kind of poo-poo today. Like my traps feel really sore, but I was like, well, I did work on those yesterday. But then I started getting like a pretty bad headache. So, and now I'm just kind of, mentally not there, when you're just overly just tired and you're kind of in a fog and all that jazz.
Oh man, I hate that for you.
Yeah.
Does not sound great at all.
Yeah. I don't have the other symptoms that I had last time. So normally it like starts with a sore throat and congestion and all that crap, and then muscle soreness and exhaustion. Now I just have like muscle soreness, which could be from the gym.
Yep.
And exhaustion could be from me being sick or just being overworking myself. Who knows?
Both. Both.
Yeah. So who knows? If I do have COVID, this is going to be the second time in the last like 4 months.
Yeah.
Because I got it right after Comic-Con. So that was in July. So then was that August, September, October? Yeah, 3 months.
Darn. That's
yeah.
rough.
So if I do have it, best case scenario is it's the exact same variant, and my body is like, I've seen this before. All you do is throw $1 at it, and it'll go away. Kind of like a homeless person trying to wash your windshield.
I was gonna say a really cheap stripper, but that's something. Okay. I would just continue to monitor.
Mm-hmm.
Go get a proper formal test, because with your schooling, if that's the case and it's true, they don't want you there. Haha.
Yeah.
And they'll have to make alternative, arrangements so that you're able to take your test, you silly freaking goose.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it goes. Basically, I'm going to make the judgment call tomorrow when I wake up. And if I still feel like garbage, I'll probably, because I thought I was getting a fever, because it kind of feels like that kind of headache. And then, but that's when I was like kind of already heading home, and I came home and I was like, you know what, just pop a couple of Excedrin, I still got stuff to do today. So did that, and then, like an hour later, I was like, you know what, my head still kind of hurts, I'm going to check my temperature. But Excedrin has a acetaminophen.
Yeah.
I can't remember how to pronounce that crap. But anyway,
Yeah.
So that's a fever reducer, so it could have just stopped it from going anywhere. But if in the morning if I feel like garbage, I'll take my temperature, and that's just going to be my test. And then if it's bad, then I got my temperature up, I'm just going to wake up, take some Dayquil, go straight to work instead of going to the gym, because who cares about those people? And finish the project that I promised I'd have done, and then come home and just pass the hell out.
Well, I'm going to always say lean into the side of taking care of yourself, because your body needs rest when it is ill, and when you're put in more stressful situations, it just exacerbates how long you're going to be ill. So take care of yourself.
Hey, I haven't exacerbated in 4 months.
Okay.
But
I'm proud of you.
Round of applause.
But yeah, so we'll see what happens in the morning. But I will skip the gym, because I don't want to get my workout buddy sick, because he's got babies at home and all that crap there. This brings up a question. How long after giving birth is a newborn a newborn?
Well, I'm 85 years old, and I'm still feeling fresh out the womb. So
God.
I don't know about what about you?
Because his wife gave birth to twins back in like right around Comic-Con time, so back like end of July.
Mm-hmm.
So I just don't know if they're considered newborn still at this point. Pumpkin, welcome. Isabelly Burr is how do you pronounce that? Thank you for the follow. But yeah, so I don't. What's up?
I think actual newborn age is like from like birth to 28 days.
Okay, well then
Something
they're
like
not
that.
anymore. They're just babies at this thing. And Secret Ducky also. Hello, Secret Ducky.
So yeah, I think that's what's going on. But yeah, I just hope that you take care of yourself. Thanks for considering the kiddos, because they don't need all that.
Yeah.
So
goodness.
yeah.
And now we got
Yeah.
Locke sending me messages.
Tell her to quit it.
No, she was actually super nice yesterday. I was in such a pissy mood, and she said, like, just left me, because I went to walk Eggy to class, and I was just super stressed out. And when I came back to the math center, she had gone home, because I knew she was about to leave. She left me a nice little note on my tablet, or whatever She's nice.
That's nice.
Secret Deck says, well, people measure baby ages by like, here's Timmy, my 237-month-old. Yeah, here's Jim. He's my freaking 1,876-month-old. And we're about to have his retirement party.
I'm getting PTSD to my job right now.
Oh, no.
The same, like, does that mean I can consider myself a 31,025-day-year-old because I'm 85 or what? Like, can I get away with like child benefits at this point? Can I get off the child menu again?
Oh, kind of going along those lines. I think it was, let's see, if I calculated it right, I think it was like 4 years ago, like sometime this month. Was it 4? Maybe just 3 years ago? I'd have to go back and do the calculations. But I celebrated my 1 billionth second of alive.
Oh, fantastic.
Day. Yeah.
Yay.
So I was like,
Happy
okay.
billionth.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what time I was born, but I know I was born on this day. So that day is going to be my billionth second day. So I think it's
Happy
around.
billionth.
Yeah, it's either like 31 or 32 years or some shit like that. I don't remember exactly. So, and I remember I could have swore it was like sometime in October. So yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah. Well, 10 out of 10.
I was like, take that, minutes.
Or
Never gonna
seconds. Oh.
seconds made it to a billion. What's wrong with you, minutes?
See, now I want to do the calculations to find my billionth minute of being alive.
I don't think you're gonna reach that one.
Oh.
I'll put my head in a jar. I'll survive.
Oh.
This isn't Futurama.
Yeah.
Why
Good
not?
news, everyone. God, I
It's my
love that show.
billionth.
I can dream, can't I?
You can dream all you want when you're fucking in this isolated state of unconsciousness inside that jar. You'll be dreaming for a long time. It's going to have that opal fluid or whatever the hell it
Yes.
ended up being. Yeah. So, that being said, well, before we continue on, Asteria, give us your qualifications, please.
And what if I refuse? No, I'm just kidding.
Then I am going to go take a dump.
I think you were going to do that despite what was going to happen.
I don't know,
here.
but I just hope it doesn't end up in my chair again.
I have so many questions.
This chair has already seen the...
I have a thing.
let's just say... If you walked in my house that day and you looked at my chair, it'd be like, did Flint, Michigan just have like a river installed here? What happened?
Oh, no. No.
Sir.
then,
Sir.
Then
Sir.
Thursday is canceled, says Secret Ducky. It ain't canceled, it's just inconvenient at that point. Pumpkin's like, dump time, yeah.
My God. Anyway, I
My
have
chat
a question.
community is building the way I want them to be built. Precisely.
They will come.
They will come, and then they will be like, ugh. And then they'll be
Just
like,
like
you
that.
clean that up, and then they'll leave.
Just like that too.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question, but I'll do my little spiel real quick, and then I have my question.
Okay.
My spiel is: Hi, I'm Asteria. I am a marriage and family therapist. I work under the jurisdiction of freaking California. So that's really important, because if you're a clinician in here that tells me the who, what, when, where, whys of laws and ethics, know that I can only speak on behalf of this state, and your state's wrong. That being said, I have a background in working with trauma, substance use disorders, dissociation, depression, anxiety, and personality disorders. So, or also mood disorders and so forth. So, if you have general questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to kind of put them in the chat. I like to do this because I know that getting or finding resources is tough right now. Why not just do this silly little activity, right? We use this place to talk about different mental health topics. Feel free to put your questions, comments, concerns in the chat, and we'll go ahead and put a big old pause on whatever we're discussing to give your question, comment, concern, the space it needs. Please keep in mind that because of the protected classes that I have to jump in and keeping safe, just for ethical purposes, I will not be discussing suicide for anyone that is 18 years and younger. And I also don't do diagnosing. So if you think that your mom is narcissistic, Kilted.
She probably is. Yeah. Thanks, Bob, for inviting me down.
Yeah, okay. Let's just assume that your mom is.
Yeah.
But outside of that, feel free to throw those in the chat. We'll get to it, and if we don't get to it, feel free to kind of jot it down and come back next week. We have a lot of topics that we expand on, and we don't want to miss you. So jump in whenever you need to. Otherwise, we're just gonna kind of get the ball rolling from there.
Yeah, Pumpkin says, I'm not sure if I have questions yet, but I have disorders. I think a disorder is essentially when you order food at Dick's Last Resort.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and jump into my question, and I'm so sorry, but I'm not.
Just overlook that one anyway.
Yes, I am. So I'm gonna keep on keeping on because I have a question that I have to ask Kilted, because he talked about the whole concept of him shitting in his chair. And if you know, you know, and if you don't, this is gonna be very surprising to you. Have you shit your pants this year?
Considering I had to think about it, that's not a good sign.
You want to give him some backstory there?
Well, since I moved into where I currently live, I moved in here in 2015. I have a running average of shitting my pants inside this building once per year. Backstory. I love that emote. it's just a freaking little character shaking their ass at me. Great emote. But yeah, some years there's none, some years there's been 2. So I think the one where I puddled my chair was the first.
Please don't say puddle.
Oh my god.
It was.
You fucking duck. Anyway, keep going.
I was wearing this very pair of shorts, sitting in this very chair, and I had COVID.
Oh.
And now I'm having COVID, possibly again, wearing the same shorts in the same chair.
I just imagine it's like the scene from Hercules where the stars are aligning.
Secret Douglas, I'm not sure you could have described that more disgustingly. Oh, I could have. Don't you worry.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
Have you ever seen coffee being brewed in the morning? Keurig for the win.
Okay, thank you for answering.
This is a therapy stream.
Pause real quick. Hold on. Would you like to introduce yourself now and tell us how you're doing?
What if I plead the fifth on that second part?
No.
This isn't a democracy. This is a dictatorship.
And I'm confused. Which one of you is the dictator?
Me.
No.
Yes.
No.
We're not taking a vote. I win.
Fight.
Kiss.
Kiss.
Yes! Yes, we finally got it!
Vumpkin says nothing human disgusts me.
You know what? Me either.
I don't know. I saw something on the internet this morning that I'm kind of wishing I didn't see first thing in the morning. So, yeah.
What side on the internet are you on?
I was watching Al Jazeera, and the whole thing happening between those 2 different peoples on the other side of the world. Yeah. So I don't want to go further into detail on that. So
fair, and we'll hold to that boundary. Anyway, with that being said, this is all a great little distraction. Wookie.
Wookie's not here.
Wookie. It's Halloween, Wookie.
Who are you, and How are you doing?
Who are
Hello?
you? Who?
I'm Wookie. I've been working with I work with kids as a teacher slash instructor. I've been working with them for about like 6+ years now. Um, I my my relevance in being here is I deal with children. I deal with a lot of the things that they bring to me, and kind of just trying to figure out how to handle things and kind of using my own past experiences to kind of guide the youth towards hopefully a better and brighter future than what I experienced. Yay.
Nice.
Fantastic. How
See-
are you?
Go ahead.
How am I? Oh,
Yeah.
This morning when I opened my eyes, I was doing all right, and it's gone downhill. But we're okay. We made it to the night. One more day,
Did you die?
maybe.
I hate when that
No,
happens.
so I last Therapy Thursday was forced to go to a work function. And the work function started terribly because on the way there was a cyclist, not cyclist, but like a kid popping wheelies in the middle of the street, swerving around. And I was so focused on staying so far away from them, I didn't realize I veered a little too far right and I clipped someone's driver's side mirror. And I knocked mine off. And thankfully, I left my information for the person. They got back to me, and the price that we have settled on is agreeable. But it's like on top of that, I just got paid. I had to go rent a suit for a cousin's wedding. Had to pay my bills. I'm paying them tomorrow, and then I just got quotes for my mirror, and it's not looking good for me.
Oh no.
And the
Yeah, there's
insurance isn't going to cover it?
No, because I decided to go out of pocket. I didn't want to get my insurance involved, to be honest.
I mean, yeah. Well, yeah, because, your rates might end up going up and you'd pay more in the long run kind of deal.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I said.
Yeah.
So, if I want to get the part from my car's brand, factory new, it's $422, and that's to install the part and everything and make sure it's running right.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it. So it's manageable, but at the same time, it was like $300 for the suit, $300 or $400 for all the bills I paid.
I hope
Tried
you
to get
kept the
something,
suit.
so, renting.
Oh, man, at that point, you could just buy a suit.
I know. Okay, I love my family. I love them dearly. They're my favorite. But
You don't
why
have to.
are they so fashionably forward? There is no reason I need to be in cocktail attire for a wedding I am not participating in. I am just, hi, congratulations. I wish you the best. You're not married to her, so you got to take care of her.
May I make a suggestion?
Oh
for it.
God.
One word, utilikilt.
Is this what you're dropping? Utilikill?
Hey,
Today's sponsor.
I wish they would sponsor me. You know what? They probably would if I just asked them.
Yeah, probably.
I'd probably need more viewers and followers, and they would jump on board 100%. I'm already a big proponent of them. I think I told you that someone I had raced with wanted to get one, and I told them about it, and then their girlfriend got them one for Christmas, and then they sent me a picture when it arrived, and the invoice on it said "Thank you, Kilted." Well, it had my name on it, but it was on their invoice. Thanking
we
me,
know
and then they're like,
it's
"Look, they're like, oh, we know who sent you here." So
Just casually just dropping names.
yeah,
If we send enough people there, I'm sure they'll come around.
yeah.
Man,
They know me well enough to. I ended up getting that purple kilt I wanted for my cosplay for Comic-Con next year, and they told me before they even made it, they're like, hey, we got the fabric in, do you want it? And I was like, yes. And they're like, all right, we'll have it done in like 6 weeks and we'll ship it out. I was like, all right, cool.
And then you got it.
Mhm.
Yay!
That sounds awesome.
You're so fancy.
Yep, still haven't even worn it. I tried it on, but I haven't worn it.
Oh, you fancy fella.
Oh yeah.
Well, Wookie, that sucks hardcore, and I am very sorry if that's all that's happening.
Yeah, I'm sorry also. Speaking of accidents, someone, when I was coming home from the gym this morning, I was turning into my complex here, and apparently
God, not again.
someone, no, it wasn't me this time, but
Okay.
right there, like, you could see it from my patio, someone clipped one of the freaking cars on the side of the road and just like freaking mashed into it, and then like got pushed up into the grass and everything. I was like, that's cool.
Oh,
So
no.
yeah, like it's rough out there. The roads are dangerous.
It goes ever on the road.
Yes.
Yeah. But anyway,
Michaela, welcome.
so what are we talking about today, y'all?
Well, how are you?
I
get
am
past
doing
this.
you're right. I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. I can't complain. Update for anyone that has been on the road of hysteria. I had a complete big mental realization and breakthrough in therapy on Friday. Yay!
Yay.
Which was then followed by me having an existential crisis for 3 days. That was awesome. And lot of crying, silly goose stuff. I was crying and realizing and feeling and healing, and then once it was all over, I was like, and I feel good. Why it was a breakthrough, you may ask? I'm so glad you asked. It was that you see, a side effect of trauma for some folks, and if you relate, feel free to tell us about it, is that you may be suffering from what I call black pit syndrome. That's not official, but if it does become official, trademark me. Is that it's where you feel a lack of sense of wholeness as an impact of all of the things that you've gone through, that you feel like there's a part of you that is missing, or that it just feels like a black hole. And I felt that for a long time. And after a lot of great work with my therapist, shout out to her, and shout out to great insight that I've received from lovely people and everything, and talking about this, I ended up doing some very deep work where I finally got to target it, and now the black hole is gone. At least I don't feel it anymore. I was kind of concerned at first. I was like, oh, this is just temporary, and everything, but it really has just not, like, I haven't felt it. Everything feels differently. I don't feel so lacking thereof of myself. I feel pretty content in myself. It's interesting. And it just took 85 years of therapy.
Jeez, what planet are you living on?
Unfortunately, this one.
I'm like, are you living on Mercury? Your definition of years is way off.
Okay, fine, you got me. I guess since I'm not myself now, I can say that I'm 28.
There you go.
Okay, well, it still took about 18 years of being in therapy to finally get here. Off and on, but still nonetheless. But I'm very thankful. I feel very good. I feel very content in who I am. And in summary, I'm that bitch. Thank you for listening, and that's how I'm feeling.
Yay, that's
Yay.
good. Nice.
Yeah, thank you.
I just need to find a therapist that's like your therapist, but my doctor just fucking sucks and doesn't want to give me a referral, so.
I suggest getting one with blue hair. mine has blue hair, and she's very wise.
There's a guy that I saw today at my gym that had blue hair. Maybe I should just be like, "Hey, are you a therapist?"
No, we go up to them like it started when I was born.
Yeah.
And if he's the one, he will pull out his own handy dandy remarkable immediately.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, one of two things is going to happen. He's going to say, he's like, "Tell me how you're feeling," or he's going to be like, "Welcome to Starbucks, so I can't get started for you today." So
yeah, see, it's one or other, and either way, you get something awesome out of it. Let's just be honest. So, yeah. So, what was I gonna say? I would say that what I would like to talk about today is reflecting on like healing if we get a chance to, because I feel like many times people keep on talking about like, I need to heal, I need to do better and everything like that. I'm like, but have you actually taken a second to check in to see how things have changed since you've been working on yourself? And are things in your life looking more aligned to how you thought they would be once you started working on yourself, or is it completely different? I definitely want to ask you, Kilted, about that, because I know for sure you're somebody that's been distinctly working on themselves. So I'm going to forcibly ask you if you'd like to share us your insight about that.
Sure. Just real quick, Michaela says, "I've learned writing helps me a lot." So that is good. Keep that up there.
Writing is a fantastic method when it comes to processing things. I feel like many times some people think like, I just have to keep ruminating, and I'll figure things out. But here's a kicker to anyone that may not know this: rumination is a side effect to trauma. And may not, like, it may be helpful, but not as helpful as kind of adding some organization to it all. And so using methods such as like writing or art or music are very effective in kind of like organizing and compartmentalizing it.
Yeah, and I'm going to show chat that this is my little journal, and I did a little art thing for my cover of it. It's like a happy, sad face. So this is where I kind of was jotting down my feelings for a bit. So yeah, writing does help when I remember to actually do it. So yeah, but the whole working on self thing, I mean, it's hard to say if it is helping because I'm still dealing with the same issues. Like yesterday, I was just like super bummed out, you know, and I was sitting in the mass center and I almost like broke down a few times just sitting in there.
Okay.
I was just getting stuck on a few things. I'm just frustrated with the whole physics thing still. And also, someone had said something to me and it didn't like offend me or anything, but it hit a note where it's just one of those things where you hear it all the time and it's like something that's actually like starting to bother me more. It's that phrase, you attract the wrong people kind of phrase. And I'm really getting tired of that shit because it's starting to get to a point where like, because I keep saying, how can I keep attracting the wrong people when I swear to God, half of it's by chance. You know what I mean? Because, for instance, the person that we're talking about, I was saying something, I was like, oh, they're actually really nice, or I don't remember the exact conversation, but they're like, oh no, that person's like really fucked up. It's like, you always end up, like, your personality just tends to attract those horrible kind of people. Or whatever, you know, that was the gist of it. And that kind of got under my skin because they're like, you need to like stop, you know, putting yourself near those people. But the person that we were talking about, I didn't go out of my way to talk to this person. This is a person that was in my class at the beginning of the semester, I walked into class, I said, there's an open seat. I sat down, and then they just happened to be the person sitting next to me. And then people are like, you're attracting these people into your life. I was like, they sat next to me. I didn't say a fucking thing to them for weeks. Like, how is this my fault? You know? And it's just like, it's irritating. It's like, is it really my fault, or is the world just full of dicks, or is the universe just trying to get one over on me? Which one is it?
Oh, it's another piece. It's not even any of those. And I know we've talked about this. But before I jump in on the mental health professional piece of it all, Wookie, what are your thoughts on this, and or have you experienced this yourself?
All right.
I don't think I've actually experienced this too much. I am a child in this aspect. I have no experience.
I am a goose.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to jump in. And that's totally okay if you haven't.
Insight.
I very much am somebody that had this predicament for a lot of my life too. But once again, silly general population is that they kind of just put very staple terms onto these types of situations. And because they want what's fast and what's easy to understand, so that they can kind of put it in a box and kind of move on from it. So I'm going to go ahead and expand this for not just you, but for everyone, so that people in the chat could also chime in and talk about it too. So if you're just chiming in, our topic right now is going to be the theme of, if you're somebody that feels or relates to attracting people that may not be good for you, or may be impactful to your environment, or you may have gotten comments from folks that saying, oh, you attract the wrong people. If you're somebody that relates to this, or have witnessed it in others, and you're looking to support a fellow friend, this is the topic for you. Here's the big kicker about everything that you talked about. As much as it could be easy to try to be like, oh, this is just the universe trying to put one up on me, or I am insert this kind of self-deprecative like statement to self and everything like that. It is much more complex than that, and ultimately comes back into one of our favorite topics here. And I know I said ours, but it is definitely mine. Which is attachment theory. Yay! Attachment theory. Attachment theory, for anyone that is new here, is the theory that focuses on the development of self in relation to the development of self-trust, trust in others, and attunement of needs, and all in the name of developing safety. Okay? So attachment theory states that we develop our attachment with somebody and our connections with somebody very early in our lives. Does anyone want to take a guess on when we start developing, or what is like the most crucial time period for when attachment starts developing for us?
Ooh, my hand is raised.
Oh, okay, hand raised. What do you think?
In the womb.
Correct.
Freaking points.
Confetti.
Big gold star for you. So the development of attachment develops in utero, and the formative and most foundational ages of it is from utero to the age of 2. And so this is formatted by how children create a foundation of connection and self-identity and self-development as aligned to a caregiver, right? So attachment theory states that there are 4 attachment styles, and they're broken down into 2 categories: secure and insecure, right? Secure is that at a certain amount of consistency and predictability, a caregiver has shown up to meet the needs and the attunement to a child. This is very important because children are especially newborn to age of 2, are the most sensitive and vulnerable beings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what's important to know is that because they're so vulnerable, they need to rely on somebody else to be able to live, right?
Right.
And so what they need is somebody to kind of consistently be that sense of security for them. And also another crucial point is that children are not endowed with language until you know, a
2-ish.
while. Until when?
Like 2-ish when they start saying words.
Is like when they like 1-ish, 2-ish, and so forth, right? Again, developmental milestones depends on the child, right?
Yeah.
But there could be a lot of impact to a child, or excuse me, but because it takes them that long to actually express words, and even then when they are able to verbalize things, and this is when they're pre-verbal, they still need to communicate their expression of needs. So what do children do when they need to express their needs but they're not able to formulate sentence or words? What do?
They cry.
They cry, right? They cry, they make noises, and ultimately when they express concern, so whenever you see a baby and they're crying and you're like, oh, it's not that bad, it's not scary, here's the kicker: they just got here in the world. Everything's scary, right?
Kind of like a party with people you don't know.
Yeah, like a party with people you don't know, and you didn't get a chance to deny the invite. You just showed up, kid. And here you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So every time that you see a child crying, they are feeling very intense, raw, unfiltered emotion, right? So what do children need? They need comfort, they need security, and they need consistency, right? As I said about attachment theory, attachment theory is broken down into 4 attachment styles, which are broken down into 2 categories: secure and insecure. Secure is that there's a certain amount of consistency, predictability, and safety that a caregiver is giving to a child in the response of their needs, and their attunement, meaning how they attune to their noises and checking in for their needs and providing that support and meeting of need, to where then the child starts to say, oh, I can trust this person to be able to provide me those needs, support, and care, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's important to know that attachment can be impacted by not just the consistent caregiver, if it's just one, but the multitude of, if there's multiple people involved, such as if you come from a multi-generational home, if you come from a single parent home, if you're somebody that is adopted. These are all factors that can contribute to your attachment style as well, right?
Right.
So, but nonetheless, there has to be, if there is a minimum of one solid, consistent, predictable, and safe adult for the child, where they're consistent, predictable, and attuned to needs just enough, the child then develops a sense of trust. And the trust is not just developed in the other person, but it's also developed in the child itself. Why? Because the child learns that when they are experiencing emotions, that they're valid and validated by how their parent or caregiver responds to them. So they start to trust that when they're starting to feel things or experience kind of sensations, or their body responding to stimuli of things being overstimulating, scary, and so forth, they start to develop trust with themselves of saying, oh, I know what's going on with me.
I am able to trust myself, and I'm able to trust somebody to help me meet my needs. That is secure attachment style. It is the only one underneath the secure category. Right? Okay. Then there are 3 other attachment styles that are called insecure. Okay. So insecure attachment styles are broken down into 3, and there's multiple names to calling them, but I'm just kind of gonna do the easy terms related to them. So if anyone here is like, I thought it was called this. Yes. Anyway.
Yes.
Anyway, there is anxious attachment style. And anxious attachment style is broken down into this. Remember how I said in secure attachment style that that there's enough consistency, predictability, and safety from a caregiver that a child can trust themselves and can trust somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anxious attachment style states that a caregiver was not as predictable, not as consistent, and or did not attune to the needs of the child in a way, even if they were physically around the child, but they weren't attuning to their needs as much, right? And so as a result of that, the child may learn that, and they may express their needs, but their needs aren't being met, at least in a consistent, predictable, or attuned pattern for themselves to feel a sense of security, right?
Right.
So what happens is that the child, but to make this different from the other attachment styles is that, but the caregiver shows up enough, right? They show up enough to where the child can know that that's the person that could appeal to my needs and support me on my needs, right? But here's the kicker. Because the caregiver seems to appear and show up when the caregiver wants to show up, or show up in the way that the caregiver thinks that they need to show up, rather than in the way that the child needs the caregiver to show up, what happens is that the child learns the message of, I can't trust my needs and what they are because you don't show up as consistently or predictably as I need you to. And so because of that, maybe I don't know what my needs really are.
Welcome,
right?
Haychaker.
And so the child experiences a lack of trust in self, but may experience a trust in others, or an overcompensated trust in others in order to live. This is anxious because when we break down the anxiousness, rather than just the blanket statement of anxiety, it's that there's a lack of predictability of when something's going to happen again. And so a child becomes hyper vigilant and scared of when that might happen, which can be very impactful for their upbringing, their attunement to their needs, and will follow them in life. All of the attachment styles of what we're talking about is going to ultimately come back to what you're talking about, Kilton.
Gotcha.
So,
and I think the attachment one, or the anxious one, is the one I fall under, right?
If you think so, more than anything, because I unless you're one of my clients or one of my friends that are like here to kind of do an attachment test with me or an assessment or whatever like that, then we'll talk about it. But if it sounds like it appeals to you, just keep it in the back of your mind for now, okay?
Right.
So that is an anxious attachment. The next one is going to be called ambivalent attachment or avoidant attachment. Okay? Avoidant attachment is where a caregiver may have showed up even, or may have impacted or less attunement even more so than the anxious attachment caregiver, because they may have been more predictable to not showing up or not attuning as much, right? To the point where the child, when they express their needs, there's such a consistency of a lack of attunement and lack of security given and a lack of predictability. The child starts to learn the lesson of, like, if I need my needs met, I have to do it myself. So what happens is in the development of trust is that the child starts to learn, I can definitely trust myself, but I can't trust you. Right?
Right.
Now,
Mm.
this in itself, and if you break them down, they to other terms and other terminologies of calling these attachment styles, this in itself can be a form of, or it can be include anxiousness, because when this child grows up, and how they show up in their relationships is that they will show up as a hyper independent person that seems to be able to take care of themselves, and are very self-reliant, and keeps people commonly in some degree or another at arm's length away from them. And they do so as a form of protection, because the last time that somebody was coming around to be emotionally attuned to them and connect with them, they got very hurt. And they are now in control and are not going to let that happen again.
I think I know someone like this.
So, this is avoidant attachment style. And again, this is keeping in mind that I encourage to you, as I kind of wrap up on the last one, is that to keep these in mind, that these don't just stop from utero to age 2. This is the foundation of trust with self and others, the foundation of attunement to our needs and attunement to the world around us, and also the foundation of self, and the foundation of security, and the perception of safety in self and self in the world, or safety and self in the world. Yeah. So just keep that in the back of your head too, because again, when people are like, oh, it didn't hurt that bad, or kids can bounce back really quickly, I got news for all of y'all who have that mentality. Anyway, so those are those two. The last one is called disorganized attachment style. Disorganized attachment style, the easiest way I like to say it is disorganized is, if we're kind of thinking about each attachment style in the level of percentage or consistency, more so that a parent or caregiver was present to be consistent, familiar, and providing a sense of safety. Disorganized is what it says in the name. The caregiver was so inconsistent that disorganized looks like a space where anxiety or anxious attachment style and avoidant attachment style live together, like as if they meshed together and created them a new one. That would be a disorganized attachment. So disorganized attachment style is for folks who experienced a home where there was such a lack of consistency of a caregiver being present, whether it was because of trauma-based terms, whether it was because a caregiver there was a single parent and they had to work a lot and it was hard for them to get support, and so anybody was there to kind of help raise the child, and again, so the child didn't get a chance to create an attachment or connection to somebody, or if a child grew up in a home where a parent was engaging in substance use, where they very much had a different presentation from when they were under the influence to when they were absent of using, right? Mm-hmm. This is where the child has such a lack of familiarity and consistency and attunement to that has been provided to their needs, or development of self and safety, that the child will then have a lack of trust in self, but also has a lack of trust in other people, because they don't know when to have their needs met, because there's such a lack of predictability when a caregiver will or will not be there. And even if they're there, if they're going to be warm and loving and supportive, or cold and standoffish and isolating to them. So they don't know how they can trust their own needs, but they also can't trust somebody or the caregiver to be there, and so they are left with that disorganized attachment style. These are the attachment styles. Why did I say all of them, right? The reason being is because many times when we are at the foundation and the format of our attachment styles, it's important to know that every single relationship, especially the closer in proximity that we allow them to us, have an impact in the direction to which that attachment style is. It is most impacted the younger that you are, but as you get older, the way that it shifts it's going to start getting more locked in, or it's going to take much more efforts for there to be a shift from one attachment style to another attachment style.
Okay.
And so, that being said, I say all of this because if you're somebody that has received the message of why do I attract these type of people, or why, or like despite good, bad, or whatever, because that's all subjective, right? Is that goes into attachment. The thing is that when there are times where we could experience the occurrence of, oh, I felt like we were friends, or before we even met each other, or I was attracted to you in a magnet kind of like attraction, where it's like, and I was pulled in your direction and I don't even know why. Well, here's the kicker. You consciously may not have, but your brain and your body and your nervous system definitely already saw the signs before you saw the signs.
Right.
Because it has developed a foundation of what attachment looks like for itself. It has developed a sense of familiarity and attachment to whatever it feels is at least predictable, because predictable equals safety, but it does not always mean that it actually means genuine safety. This is where I like to say when people are like, oh, this is my comfort zone, but comfort zone doesn't mean comfortable, it means familiar, right? So our bodies and our minds are seeking familiar environments, because in familiar environments is predictability to how we can maintain our sense of safety, right?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes along the lines, I like the way I can compare it to something else is, because I remember I had this a lot when I was like in school, was, you know, when you go home, I'd crawl into bed, whatever, fall asleep, you know, no problem. But then if I ever went and stayed at someone's house, you know, because we lived in a shitty area, shitty neighborhood, a lot of problems, but I'd make friends with somebody, go to their house, they'd have this big, nice house, it's clean, you know, freaking, you know, safe neighborhood, and I'd try to fall asleep there, and I can't do it. I'm like, this is fucking weird, I'm uncomfortable, because I'm not used to it, even though it was technically safer, better, and all that crap.
Rationally it's safer, but your body doesn't know that. Many times people think that the brain is so wise that it can rationalize itself into understanding the world around you. Here's a fucking newsflash for everybody. We as human beings have fell into these socialized environments such as which we live now, and a much less time in relation to the big long timeline of humans existing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we have needed to rely on for a lot of time, and especially still now, is our gut intuition. Our gut intuition does not have rationale. It just has a feeling, right? And it's like, I have a feeling I shouldn't go walk that way. There is nothing that actually tells me or indicates that I shouldn't, but something tells me not to. That something that tells you not to is your nervous system in your brain that has picked up on patterns that has equated those patterns to a lack of safety. Right? And therefore is trying to motivate you to commit to safety, right? Or this is why if you grew up in a low socioeconomic environment, you could walk around those types of neighborhoods and everything like that and know what time to do it and what to do when you're walking through and keep your eyes down and your hands in your pocket, and you would still feel okay because you know how to walk through there. But if you walked in a higher socioeconomic environment, you may not know how to respond when somebody walking in your direction makes direct eye contact with you and greets you and says, hey, good morning, and so forth. That could actually increase and spike a sense of impacted safety or send off the signal of danger in your body.
It sure has.
And so because of this, again, it's really important to know how this goes into our relationships. We as humans are constantly going to continue to, quote, find the same people because our system has already connected to what attachment and attunement and familiarity looks like, and it's seeking it. Now, is it a matter that you're just sitting in a chair and so forth? Yeah, I totally believe that and so forth. How that kind of brings up connection with somebody or conversation or that sense of continued engagement, that's where attachment comes in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here, many times when people are like, it's like they want to make it say the easy way, saying, oh, it's your fault. Newsflash, I won't even say that it's your caregivers that have done this, but this is a result of generational trauma. This is a direct impact of the generation before you and the generation before them and so on and so forth that has developed the foundation of attachment and have not attempted to challenge, change, and reformat it into a safe kind of format or into secure attachment style.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result of that has built upon itself and built upon itself and built upon itself to where then what happens is that it gets projected onto you, right?
Right.
So after a quite lengthy explanation of what I've just been all talking about, it isn't your fault, and it is also your responsibility, because there's a likelihood that in such a subconscious format in your brain that no, you cannot consciously just go there, that it is constantly seeking the signal, signs, and familiar patterns of these types of people because you are secure in that sense of familiarity of how these types of people are, despite if you have a feeling towards them or you don't, or you rationally know or don't rationally know. That doesn't happen here, and that doesn't equate. This is evolution at its finest. To change it, you have to actively engage in challenging your attachment style into a different attachment style to whichever appeals to you more. I'm not going to say which one is the best or not. That's up to you as an individual. To where you start to challenge the relationship that you have towards trust, towards familiarity, and towards attunement of your needs. If you are someone, in asking yourself, if you are someone that feels that you don't know what I'm going to actually just ask these questions. And again, answer them in your own head to either you're here chatting with me or you're in the chat. I'm going to ask the following questions. You answer it to yourself, and then we'll talk about it. Do you know what your needs are? Okay. Do you feel comfortable in yourself? Okay. Do you perceive yourself and or the world as an unsafe place? I'm going to have you think about those because those will give you insight of what your attachment style is. And as long as the answers to those questions are related to, I don't know, I'm a bad person, I'm an unsafe person, the world is unsafe, you have an insecure attachment style. because you do not have a trust in self. You do not have an attunement to self, and therefore that's going to keep repeating itself and cycle through in every relationship that you will have, both externally, in the realms of romantic, platonic, familial, or in addition to internally, and the relationship that you have with yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's still, I mean, I get all that, and but I feel like this specific scenario just kind of doesn't lie in that ballpark.
If so, you're saying that because you're getting the message. I'm not talking about this scenario.
Oh,
Because
okay.
this specific scenario, I don't get into the specifics of it all. Like, ultimately, specifics don't mean junk to me, especially as a clinician. Sorry to anybody, but specifics don't mean junk to me because that's not how I work. I work in patterns. Patterns are that you, and what you said were that stood out to me was you've heard this message before, and that there's certain people that end up you feeling like you're surrounded around. And I'm not saying that you directly said this right now. I'm saying that we've had this discussion before.
Right.
And you said that to me in the prior, right?
Right.
So, as a result of that, right, is that this is going to keep happening until there's a break in the pattern. And again, I want to emphasize and highlight, it is not your fault. And it is still your responsibility. Unfortunately, it is such an interesting concept, and it feels so taboo even when I talk about it, where I'm like, it's very similar to trauma, right? Where you didn't ask for the trauma, but it is still your responsibility to heal from it, because you can't keep blaming that the reason why you're shitty to people as an adult is because of what happened to you when you're younger. However, it is a contributing factor, but as long as you have not now gone from ignorance to awareness and not shifted from awareness to challenge and changing, now it's intentional. And you have to take the responsibility at that point. And it's going to continue to happen. It is not necessarily your fault about how it's going to take time to change these patterns, because again, you're not just learning new ways to format relationships, but you also have to do a lot of unlearning to the foundation of connection and relationships. And that just might take a while. So I always encourage the skill of patience and grace, because it's not something that you can go to therapy and all of this fixes in about 6 sessions.
Right.
This is going to take time, whether you're in therapy or you're not in therapy.
Right, and I've been working on that, and well, I think just one reason this scenario bugged me is because I don't really have a relationship with this person at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, like I said, I walked into class, sat down, took a seat for class for the semester, and, you know, just when you're in a class, you tend to talk to your neighbors. And this one person just happens to also, you know, study in the same location I do. So I'm just like, hey, how's it going? Like, we don't really talk much. And then people are like, oh, you just surround yourself with, like, those kind of people. I was like, I don't even talk to them. Like, why are you saying this? I'm not surrounding myself with them. They just happen to be a classmate. We don't hang out or, like, chat on the phone or anything. They're just sitting next to me. Like, that's it. We talk about class, and then that's it. So I don't know why that was just being thrown at me. Just because apparently that person's messed up somehow that I'm unaware of. And I'm like, well, I'm not really trying to associate myself with them. Tiny Whale, welcome.
That's the other thing about it all, is that, again, this is also you just being a human associating with other people. Is that many times people just like to throw blanket statements and terms and ideas onto certain situations. And they may not
Let me hear
realize
you.
the
Tiny
impact
Whale, go for it.
of that situation. and how like that may be impactful to you, right? A lot of times, I hate to break it to anyone because I know a lot of people in the world are like, oh, they're intentionally trying to hurt me. I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but I just hear this a lot with my work. Here's the big fucking kicker. A lot of times people aren't thinking at all. They're just automatically responding to internalized stimuli. And what happens is the association of the feeling that we have to what they're saying is based on our relationship with that message and or that feeling that we attach to it.
Gotcha.
Right?
I'm gonna have to put a pause on that one because we got someone in chat. Tiny Whale has a question, so we're going to shift gears over here.
Okay, we'll put that over there to the side.
All right, Tiny Whale says, and this one actually, maybe I'm wrong on this, but it feels like this might be an easier question to answer. It says, my mental health is always related to my wallet. So how do I get the right amount of money to be free? I can take a stab at this one.
Yeah, I would love if you and Wookie both did.
Okay.
I want to hear y'all's ideas on this one.
Yeah, my thought is if it's related to your wallet, essentially you are searching for an amount of money to where you feel that any unknown scenario that pops up, whether it be a health issue or your car breaks down or, just something, or you're like, hey, I need a day off from work or a weekend away. I can just go do that without being stressed out about how much it's going to cost. So I feel like once you get to that point where you're just like, oh, it's time to put gas in the car. How much is gas? $8 a gallon? Well, whatever. Like, it's not going to kill me. I feel like that's where that person would like to be in my imagination, because, I feel when I started making more money, when the more I earned and the more I had like a safety cushion, the better I felt in that area. I was less anxious about stuff. I'll still bitch about gas prices, but it's more of the fact that it's not that I can't get the fuel. It's more just pissed off at the situation that something is happening where it just shouldn't be there. Even if I was making, $1 million a year, I'd still probably be pissed off at gas prices.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I'm pissed off at the scenario, but more than anything.
Okay, anything else you want to add to that?
That's all I got from my end. Wookie?
Okay, I want to put a circle around that. Now to you, Wookie, what do you think is going on there?
I feel, for me personally, I would ask the question of, like, what do you define as free? Because, I mean,
that's a good question.
Like, you can be free from, like, the stress of, like, the prices of everything and, like, the stress of, like Kilted was saying, like, the stress of, like, buying gas or, like, the prices on a certain thing.
Yeah. Can you get a little bit closer to your microphone?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I mean, you could also just say, like, being free from, like, dependency, or, like, being free to maybe, like, live a certain kind of lifestyle that you want to live. I struggle with this too, because anytime like I have to make a big purchase, like right now, or multiple purchases that are like unforeseen, like it always stresses me out to like the nth degree. I don't know, I guess maybe what I would say for me personally, like when I feel like that, is I jot down like my goal or like what I want to like make happen in the year, and like just jotting it down and like seeing that like I'm kind of working towards something, like seeing the money like there and like knowing that I'm making at least some progress towards like my goal for that time kind of helps me a little bit.
Right. Kate, thanks for the follow. Let's see. Tiny Whale says, it's not like I don't have money. I got a job and everything, but I always feel trapped. I'm married and of course I got a house to support, but I'm not broke. But it's like my life is stuck in an endless loop. Basically, I feel like it could easily break any time.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
I'm jumping in now. Okay.
Let the professional speak, everybody. And welcome, Kate. We are doing good.
Security, and it's trauma. Sorry, in summary, it's that.
Everything's
And I'm
trauma.
not laughing at you. It is. Oh God, man, I can listen to probably 1 million people a day, and by the end, they're like, "Oh my God, this is so unique," and blah blah blah. And then I'm like, "Blah blah blah. What do you think?" I'm like, "It's trauma." It's always trauma. Like, I do not know how to tell people enough this. But any whoosies, is this? It's the thing is about finances is that finances very much tie into what very close to what Wookie and Kilted have shared about when it comes to, in summary, safety and security, right? Because in security we feel safe, right? And the thing about finances, that finances, we may have experienced trauma along the way that says, I need finances to look a certain way or be a certain way or have and so forth in order for me to feel secure and safe. Well, what if you come from a scenario where you come from an upbringing, hypothetically, where you didn't have a lot of things, right? You didn't have a lot of money, or you had a family that stressed a lot about finances for a lot of that. And they may have been hardworking folks, or they may have not worked at all, or they have figured out their own way. But nonetheless, it creates the foundation and the relationship that you may have with finances. And that message, directly or indirectly, consciously or subconsciously, has an impact in the relationship that you have with finances as you get older, right? So it's not necessarily as easy to say, oh, it's because, like, well, I know I have a job and I know I have these things. And it's like, so why am I still feeling this way? It's not about the amount of money. Because again, here's the honest truth I have to tell you. There will never be an amount that will be consistent enough to where you feel secure. You will constantly be put into a position where you're constantly chasing this arbitrary amount because what you're chasing is security and safety. This is really important because many times people think that finances make your troubles go away. I'm saying this as somebody that grew up also in a household that taught me a certain relationship with money. And I know very well that with my job, my background, my career, like financially, I am good. I get a lot of fucking comments from people around me that say, oh, blah, blah, blah about the money I make. But whenever I hear these comments, I feel like utter shit. Or I did feel like utter shit before, because I'm like, I kept experiencing the shame of, well, if I'm so secure, like I make this so much, why do I still feel so scared about my money, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was never about the amount that was in my bank account. It was about the relationship that I have with finances and what it means to me. And so many times when I hear these types of things, I encourage, instead of continuously getting stuck in the loop of like, oh, it's me, it's my fault, I need to work harder, I need to do better, I need to change these things, blah, 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 in my life, I say, start elsewhere first. Because I think it's going to save you a lot more time and energy. Again, this is just my thoughts, and I'm just one clinician in the big pool of clinicians. I encourage you to use that very fantastic writing method that we talked about earlier, where you start to kind of go back as far as you can in your history, in your timeline, and start to check in about what messages did you receive along the way surrounding finances and how you feel that they're impacting your relationship with finances now. By creating that connection, you can start to help support the understanding of security and have those moments of like, oh, it's because when insert caregiver used to stress about expenses, like I felt really scared as a child, and that's kind of continued on with me as I've gotten older. I'll use a personal example myself, because let's all just be vulnerable here. Is when I was very young, I grew up significantly poor, and I would have to ask for clothing sometime because we need clothing, right? But when I received the message when I was little of, oh my gosh, these pants are $20, I don't know how we're going to be able to get gas in the car to be doing all these things, and I witnessed a lot of anxiety and worry in my caregivers. As much as a rational adult, I could see it's like, oh, they were just kind of worrying for self and the foundation and safety of family. As a child, I received the message of my needs are inconvenient and impact the safety and security of others. Therefore, I should suppress that. And so when people would ask me, what do you want to do? What needs do you have? I would say, don't worry about me. This is an example of how these messages can impact the relationship that we have with many aspects and elements and factors of our lives. Many times we don't even create the correlation and kind of bridge this understanding. But I definitely would encourage about checking in about and going back of what were the messages that you received around finances. Did it start with caregivers? Did it really go even further back before them, whether it be from caregivers or the messages of like, oh, well, your grandparent taught me this? Or was it directly taught by a grandparent? Because now you can understand the pattern of generational trauma that has continued on through your generations, that has been so normalized that people or the family system may not have even questioned it, but now you're still reaping the impact of their projected anxiety. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, and like, cause I was stressed about that kind of stuff, and for me, I mean, just lately with going to school and everything, how I worry about my job, and I don't know how the company's even still afloat or how they're even keeping me around, because they're always complaining about me, taking time off for school. One thing that helped for me a little bit was setting up a contingency plan in case I lose all my financial income and I'm bringing nothing else in. So yeah, because I think I told you I had a dream where I actually got fired because of this, and I woke up from that dream and I was like, whoa, that sucks, and I automatically started throwing a plan together, and ever since then I've been like, you know what, if it happens, I got my plan set up. It'll suck, it'll be uncomfortable, but I know how to get through the next thing. I mean, that's just me though. Tiny Whale says, what if I don't have that connection? I had a good childhood money wise. P.S. the endless loop I'm talking about is that all my days are the same. Nothing is ever new. It is all repetitive and boring. More about myself. I'm an introvert and I honestly don't like going out, and I'm hardly social, and my safe zone is always in my room. Okay, so
Y'all's turn.
Well, I'm wondering if they're saying maybe they find like their purpose, the only feeling they have towards purpose is based on financial gain. You know what I mean? It's like that's all they know as far as having goals or accomplishments. It's like that's the only reason to get out of bed. For me, it's, I kind of have my eggs in different baskets. It's like, yeah, I get up because I have to pay my bills, but I also get up because I am working to become a better athlete. I get up because I'm also going to school so I can have a better career. you know, it's like I have more than one thing to get out of bed for. And so maybe that's why they're putting in here that, you know, it's just the same crap every day. And I know that feeling because during the summer it gets like that, because even going to the gym, you know, without school, I had no social life during the summer because everyone was busy or out of town. So it was just wake up, go to the gym, go to work, come home. And you heard me complain about it, how I was only talking to people for sometimes literally 30 seconds a day. It was all the social interaction I'd get. And you know, that wasn't good. So perhaps they should ask, I'm just taking a guess, that Tiny Whale should ask themselves, you know, what is something I want to accomplish or experience or do that would, you know, be outside of the realm of just going to work every day? Like, do I want to build something? Do I want to travel somewhere? Do I want to, I don't know, learn how to do a backflip? I don't know, just whatever. Like something else to kind of focus their energy on besides just work. But that's just my thought.
Wookie, what do you think?
I agree with Kilton on this. I think maybe Tiny Whale finding like at least one thing that they would like to do, maybe to shake things up, taking a trip, maybe going and trying a new kind of experience might help here. I mean, for me personally, I relate to like the feeling of the endless loop. And I guess kind of I'm a little bit different because I'm always interacting with people, whether it's, you know, talking to a parent, talking to a child, and kids always keep you on your toes. But it's like for me, my endless loops like extend outside of work into like my drives home, where it's like I don't know if either of you have had this phenomenon happen where it's like sometimes you forget how you get home, you just end up at home.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
And I think what keeps me sane is finding something that like I am really passionate about and dedicating like a little bit of my time and money to that thing. And it's like right now like I'm trying to like redo my whole room. So it's like I've set money aside to assist with that goal, and like a lot of my time is now spent kind of like looking at things, how to make it better, how to make like the flow and like everything else kind of work. And that's kind of what helps me kind of get out of like the day-to-day loop, which is like I work on something, or at least I try and add something new to the room, or like a new idea every day. So I guess like Kilton said, just maybe for Tiny Whale to try to find something that they are passionate about, and maybe just dedicate like a little bit of time or even like a little bit of like your funds to supporting that passion or that goal that you want to achieve.
Yeah, well, they say I want to build a business, but I don't have enough money for it at the moment. And they say that I don't have any passion, and I can't find my passion, to be honest. Well, I would say that you have something, you want to build a business. I mean, that's already a start. So even though you may not have the finances for it, something that could I don't want to say distract, I don't know if that's the correct word, but something that can draw your focus is, even though you may not have the money right now, and if that's something, I mean, you have some sort of passion to want to do that. There's something there, obviously, because you mentioned it. So perhaps spend time researching whatever business you want to start. Like, what are the things that are needed for that business outside of the financial part? Like what would I have to do to get clients or make this or whatever your business is going to be about. It's like, how do I start it? What equipment would I need? Where would I want to set up my office or shop? Or what computer stuff would I need? How do I manage the business? You can start looking up videos, and so that way you can spend time writing down a whole plan of what needs to be done when the finances do come in. And then after that, you can go, well, how much money do I need to start the very first step, and then see if you can kind of build and build and build and build. At least that way, you're working towards something. They say did that, outsourced everything and got all the info. $210,000 to start. Okay, so the next step would be, how could you come up with that money? What do you think you could do? Do you think there's any smaller steps you could take? Could you find investors? Could you, something like that? And you said that's why I'm stuck. It's the money part. Yeah. So now the next goal is like, how do you get that money? What do you do to get that? Stock market. I don't know if you know anything about that. Working overtime, selling some things, I don't know, I'm not a financial guru. Just, look into just things. It's like how to earn money on the side, or just like ideas. Just watch other people's ideas. Maybe it'll kickstart the idea in your brain, because somebody be like, oh, I did this. I started, selling feet pictures online or something. You're like, hey, that's kind of gross, but I got an idea. And it just might tangent your thought into a different direction that can get you on that line. So, just keep looking around, see how other people did things. Like maybe try to find books on all that. It says already looked at them, all still no luck, hence being stuck. Gotcha. Ooh, that's a rough one then. Well, outside the business thing, I mean, just kind of like what we discussed earlier, just try to come up with something else that you could use to distract yourself.
Yeah.
That you could find passion in. Just like, what is something outside of like work and business that you've wanted to do, even if it's something small, like something really small. Like I want to learn how to do origami, or just something simple, and then kind of focus on that a bit. Or I want to learn how to do the Charleston, learn how to dance. I like watching random clips on YouTube. Well, there you go. If you see something on YouTube that you enjoy, you go, hey, that looks like it would be fun. See what it takes to do that. I
definitely want to say I encourage that idea. The thing is that many a times, again, there's a lot of times where we can start to quickly jump into being like, I don't have a lot of interest, I don't have a lot of fun and everything like that. Well, the thing is that it's going to take energy to not do anything, and it's going to take energy to do something, right? Because the thing is, like, I can hear at least what I'm hearing is that your system wants to be interested in something, but the problem is right now, at least what again I'm hearing, is that it's kind of feeling stuck because it's limited to these different categories, and because there's no movement, it's starting to get stuck into this loop where it doesn't feel like it can make movements, right?
It's stagnant.
Yeah, and you start to feel stagnant, right? So I encourage that even in times that you feel that even a twinge or a little pull of like, hey, that would be kind of interesting, allow yourself to like lean into creativity and to lean into curiosity, because by leaning into curiosity and creativity, you get to open the limitations or the box of like options of saying, hey, it could only look like this. It could then look like many things like that. Like for instance, right now I'm like, I'll use an example. For a long time, I just couldn't get into books and like reading and everything like that, just because I kept on saying I didn't have the time, but I want to read, right? And so I have like I've gotten suggestions and so forth about listening to books and stuff like that, and now I'm like loving books again, and like I'm like sitting there, and yes, I'm doing the audio version, which I would never thought I would. I didn't think I'd be that person, because I've always been a very like physical book reader.
But now I'm listening to books while I'm like driving and going in between work and so forth. And I'm just like, I was like, and I'm in the car like, oh shit, what's gonna happen next? And that's so exciting again. And so I found a love for books again, and that's opened up conversations with me and my partner. And it's like, hey, this is what happened in the book that I read, and now my partner's like, you should listen to this book, and it's like we could listen to it together, and blah blah, all these things. I feel like their thing is that like by allowing yourself the vulnerability of leaning into curiosity and creativity, it allows you to see the different options, and like doesn't feel you make, or doesn't kind of limit you or stagnate you into like 3-4 options. It gives you a plethora of like, there could be so many things that you can have access to, especially as a person that's introverted. It's like, so if you're introverted, what are some things that you get to enjoy and can like benefit from by doing it alone or hanging out with yourself? Or if you'd like to incorporate somebody, like maybe you don't necessarily have to do it where it's this very intensive social activity, but it could be something where you're just in proximity to somebody and you're not talking so much, but that still feels great. Pick up chess, learn origami, figure out do Lego. Yeah, like freaking Legos. If you're like, well, I just want to watch paint dry, figure out, does it dry faster when you go down or up and down or down and up? Like, there are many things that you can do. But I think it's gonna take leaning into curiosity and creativity. Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's see. Hay Shakers come back, and they would like to. I mean, it's pretty open. It sounds like they're still kind of dealing with the same issues as last time. It says, "What should you do when there's nothing to live for?" Hay Shaker, I was wondering if you had taken the time to write down specifically like how you were feeling, and like were able to break that down to finer points, because that's a very broad statement. And it's hard to really, go in a direction with that if you're able to be more specific on. Go ahead.
Can I jump in real quick? Okay, I want to jump in real quick because I want to share what happened on Friday a little bit more.
You got Tiny Well, nice. Hold on, Tiny Well is like, all right, I guess I'll give it a shot. Thank you. No problem. Good luck. Worries. Let us know how it goes.
Oh yeah, please give us updates about how that's going. Like, it's not always easy, and we're here rooting for you as 3 people on the internet.
Yay.
Yay.
Okay, back to Hay Shaker.
I wanted to share what happened on Friday because of something that Hay Shaker is sharing. And I'm going to pass on to you something my therapist passed on to me. The thing is, and it just makes so much sense, at least to me, is this. The concept of there's nothing to live for is something I struggled with a lot of my life. I'm like, why am I here? Why do I keep waking up? If this is for others and it's not for me, why do I keep going on, right? This is something I lived with for a long time, right? But again, this is something, at least in my experience, that I would like to encourage to seeing maybe if this may be helpful to pass on to you. From what I have gathered in my trauma and my background is that when I came into this world, I received a combination of messages that directly or indirectly kind of sounded like this. My purpose was to be the emotional foundation for my mother. That my job was to remain in survival mode and get through my childhood. That I was to prepare for the next scenario that happened in a very unpredictable scenario or situation with a parent that was engaging in substance use and so forth. And I received messages of my emotions didn't matter and don't let the neighbors know what's going on.
Oh, right? I know that last one.
Oh yeah. when when I started to do a lot of this work to targeting this feeling, I realized, and going back as far back as I possibly could, that I received this message as, if not the second, definitely one, or like the second message that I received coming into this world, right? My therapist said to me that the purpose of caregivers is to create caregivers, whatever that format, that foundation looks like for you. If you were not given the space for your core self to be developed, and this core self being a resource very similar to kind of something that you feel wholeness within you, or feel connected of self with self, and you were given the message of coming into the world, and that you had to keep functioning and doing these things without explanation, without clarity, or that you had to live for others, and we're not given the foundation, the ability and foundation to develop for yourself, that when the smoke clears of the chaos, you're left with, well, then what is this all for, right? Because your sense of purpose is formatted on messages that didn't make sense to you, but you had to quickly pick up the tools and skills as quickly as you could to function as well as you can. But when that happens, is that everything doesn't feel like it's standing on a foundation of security. It feels like you're creating a castle on sand, right? And the issue about that is that when you're not given the opportunity to develop yourself and figure out who you are, you start to question of, what am I doing this for? And many people give this arbitrary insight and information of like, oh, you're like, you got to find purpose, you got to do all these things. And I have to say that, sure, that's a great input, but that's something that's way far at the end of the journey, like way over there. Like, you're asking for someone to start on step 200. I encourage, in the times where you're struggling of like saying, what is this all for and what am I supposed to do, is I think that many a times, if you're an adult struggling with this message, or whoever is listening, is that you have greater insight than you may be aware of. The insight is this: you go back to the basics. You go back to the formativeness, and giving the space and the foundation for your core self to be able to grow. Many times, as a result of trauma, directly, indirectly, severe, not so severe, whatever it looks like, is that we were not, as humans and people, we're not given a chance to have our core self develop. And if we don't have a core self that's developed and that is able to lean on, then whose life are we living for? Because we don't feel connected to anything. We need to go back to the basics of understanding very, very basic questions about ourselves. And many times when I suggest this, I always am met, or very commonly I'm met, with the message of, that's silly, that's stupid, blah, blah, blah. Right? And I was like, it's like, sure, like, I bet somebody did come across and give you the message of, that's silly and that's stupid, and it probably feels very scary, and like, it kind of feels uncomfortable to go back to the basics of figuring out who you are, because you never did it to begin with, so you're not familiar with it. When I say go back to the basics, I encourage you to explore, what is your favorite color? Why is it your favorite color? Are you able to, it's like, do you like to color pencils with that color? Do you like to paint? What do you like to do in order to nurture your inner child? These are all questions I encourage, because if you did not get a chance to format that inner self, that core self, or that core self is still frozen in an age and has not been able to grow up alongside you, it doesn't matter how old you are biologically, by a long shot, because your body against your will physically keeps growing, but the spirit inside, the core self, is limitless in the age that it can be, and it can still be stuck at an age far younger than you biologically are or physically are. I encourage to try to do some work and use that attempt of purpose to figuring out where you left off in the age that you are, and give that version of you some attention and support. And as you start to do that consistently, and like connect that attunement and care for that younger you, they will start to grow up alongside you, and they're going to have feelings that are not going to make sense, because
Here's the kicker: feelings don't make sense. They are not rational. That's why they're called feelings and emotions,
not facts. But when you start to allow that space without judgment, without shame, and provision of self-guilt, you allow that younger you to catch up to you. And when you do, you may be met with this feeling of the answering of the question. And again, for anyone that's like, my purpose is to do something big and drastic and change the world, I'm like, how about your only purpose is just to be yourself? And if you don't know who you are, then you have the answer of what you're supposed to do next. And that's my insight.
Yes, because if you don't know who you are, how are you supposed to know what other people are? Or
feel, or how are you able to connect with people? Like, you will have such a disconnection with everybody around you as long as you put off getting or providing the space of getting to know you.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it does not matter who is in your life romantically, platonically, from family, from friendship. It does not matter who's in your life, because people are not guaranteed. No one is required to stay in your life. People come and go. People die. People move. People just up and ghost you, right? But there is one person you are guaranteed to go to bed with every fucking night, and that's you. I would suggest getting to know that person.
Yes.
Thank you.
Wookie, did you have anything to add to that?
I was just soaking that all in. I think 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. That's
the mental health Olympics.
I feel like that's causing me some self-reflection a little bit.
Yeah, I do that sometimes.
So that's why I get paid the medium money.
Man, may I tell you, not only do I get appetizers, I get 2 appetizers.
Dang.
I know.
Someone's leaving in the median.
Somebody leaves a reasonable tip.
Hilarious. Anyway.
You did not just...
I did. And I'll do it again. I encourage you to lean into figuring out who you are. And I bet it's going to be beautiful. And I think it's going to be great. And I think that you're worth it. And you don't have to believe in yourself, but you can believe in the me that believes in you. And keep just showing up every week, and we'll keep on chatting.
Yes. Infinite Blakes, if you're still here, I know you stated that you said, I'm just lost. I don't know if they were speaking of what we were talking about at the moment, or
that they need a map,
or yeah, if your Google Maps isn't working, or if you're just lost in life. But if you want to, if you're still here,
or on Twitch,
yeah. Like, what is this? Is this live? Is this one of those? Is this a FaceTime? Hello?
We'll do it live.
I'm trying to contact my granddaughter.
Exactly.
Hello?
Hello? Is this a picture?
That's a JPEG.
Oh
Oh,
god.
does it look like I know what a JPEG is?
I just want to. Did you have a goddamn hot dog?
I just want a picture of a goddamn hot dog.
I can't get this image out of my head now. Just that character sitting at a computer screen looking at a Twitch stream. Just wondering what it is.
Unfortunately, this isn't a hot dog. I'm sorry. Or a picture of one. I'm sorry if that has caused you to be more lost.
I'm hoping like someone goes into chat like randomly one day and it like pops up first time chatter and it's just like it's like, how late are you guys open? And what's your address? I just like, what? It's like,
What are your hours of business?
What's the number I dial to get you back on the screen?
Do you guys still have Polygrip? my teeth fell out. Let's see. We're getting close to the end, but there is something I still had written down from. It kind of was along the lines of attracting the wrong people. So if we could just like run over this one really quick. I wrote down this a couple weeks ago. I was thinking, because you know people are like, oh, you know, you hang around with the wrong people or whatever, and I wonder if subconsciously. What I wrote down is perhaps I hang around with broken people because they're the only ones that really understand.
Or
Anyway,
you're familiar to them.
yeah, but it also, if you hang out with people that are just as broken as you are, don't you feel like when you talk to them, they get it?
Well,
And
ask yourself that.
Well, that's what it seems like, because I can tell you right now that Eggy's freaking about as broken as a, you know, crystal.
As an egg.
Yeah, as broken as an egg.
That's why her name's Eggy.
Yeah, but she gets it. Oh, and by
Yes.
the way, that's not actually what the name is.
Of course.
It's Echoche is actually how it's pronounced.
What?
Yes. She just calls it Eggy because she gets tired of people pronouncing it incorrectly. It's the word hedgehog in Dutch.
Oh!
Yes.
That-
And
That
you-
makes 10 times more sense.
Yeah, because she knows she's a fan of the hedgehog. And so, yeah, that's Dutch, right? The Netherlands. Oh, geez, you posted a picture of a goddamn hot dog
I did.
with Hank Hill's face on it. Oh, jeez.
You're welcome. Mm.
That's something.
I'll do it again. So I think, yeah, because because then they understand, right? But think about it deeper about what you're trying to accomplish. You're trying to accomplish connection.
Yes.
You're trying to accomplish community.
Yes.
And that is why being around quote broken people unquote feels so comforting, because you don't have to explain things. You don't have to have people struggle. You don't have to feel like an outcast, right? You
Yeah.
just have people that understand it. So I would say that what could help is being around broken people, but what I'd encourage is being around quote broken people that are attempting to get healthier,
Gotcha.
like, and are trying to change. If you keep being
Like Eggy.
around folks like Eggy, because Eggy is somebody that is trying to improve and change. But if you continue to be around people that are constantly trying to stay in these cycles, and they're constantly trying to like not change or feel shit, or like continue to reinforce feeling like shit, they are just wanting somebody to come and like take care of them. They don't want to change it themselves. This
Right.
is what I've talked about in regards to the stages of change, that some people can be at the stage of change where they're pre-contemplative, so they don't even know that they're fucking up and have all this pain and everything like that. There's some people that are at a contemplative stage where they know they want to change, or that they need to change, but they're just not ready to change, or that they're like, I really want to change, but they're not motivated enough to do what it needs to take to change. And then there's the action. It's like doing the change. And it's going to be very uncomfortable because change isn't comfortable. Change is going to be something that's completely new to you. It's going to be something that's going to take being out of your comfort zone because it's not going to be familiar. And you are then formatting a new comfort zone. And in that, being around healthier people, or like-minded people, people that are kind, caring, and compassionate will be more fun. It will be easier for you because your body is more receptive to it. Because when it had its guards down before to the desire of compassion, care, and concern, it got hurt a lot. And all it's doing right now is trying to protect you from being hurt. But by continuing to challenge that, you're showing your body it doesn't need to keep on responding to the trauma. It can start reacting to change, and therefore shifting you from continuing to be in the cycle of trauma and survival mode and changing into living and actually like leaning into self-purpose.
Right. What was that? I was going to say something about that. Oh yeah, it's kind of like with like, you know, staying away from the people that don't want to change. I mean, that's one of the biggest things, especially as I'm working on myself, is I get very frustrated around people that say I can't, and like no matter what you throw at them, there's always an excuse of why they can't. And then you ask them, well, what can you do? And then they have nothing. So it's just like, well, you know, if you're not willing to try something, then it's not that you can't, you just aren't willing to.
But what I want to say real quick, because I don't want it to come, I also want to challenge that this is because this is a lack of, like, this is a deficient person or excuse me, a defective person or anything like that. I want to change or reframe it that when you hear people say, I can't, and when you give them a suggestion and then they don't take it or they stay in their ways, it's because they're at that pre-contemplative or contemplative stage of their change, and they are still in environments or they have experienced a lack of environment to where they have been supported and been provided care and compassion and concern, to seeing that there's a different life outside of that. What they're saying is outside of I can't, is that they are still reenacting the messages from their pain and their trauma. And so what you're getting is the insight that this person is not ready to. So what you can do, instead of getting frustrated about giving suggestions that they are just not ready for, because you want, like, you have high expectations of them and you feel like you know what they're capable of, which could ultimately feel like step 1, but that's like step 50 for them. What you can do is just be kind. If you're going to be around this person, let's just say, and you're going to be more exposed to this individual, just try to be kind. And if they reject it, just don't give it attention. Anytime people are self-deprecative around me and they're like put themselves down, I don't give it attention, because I try to show them and saying, hey, you don't need to do that in order to get love and care. Like, and I'm so sorry that somebody taught you along the way that you had to put yourself down in order to get love and care. And if you don't want to be around this kind of environment, then just give them space. And just saying like, hey, like, it's like just kind of just leave them be. You don't have to be rude about it. You don't have to be anything. You could just give them that space, because it shows where they're at their journey. And it, again, not their fault for the trauma and still their responsibility to heal from it. But despite all of that, they're not going to be receptive to what you have to tell them. So at the minimum you could do is just be kind and, you know, let them be.
Right. And I can do that to a point, but as you know, on my healing journey, being around that constantly pulls me into that mindset, and I don't want to be there. So there's like a balance between being able to be supportive and also like, hey, you're pulling me down now, kind of deal.
and that's your responsibility.
Yeah. Let's
That's the
see.
thing.
Tiny Whale says some people are just broken so hard that they lose the motivation and or are scared. Sometimes they need someone to push them. Also, they can push themselves if they are strong enough. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I need people to push me. That's but that's me, because there's been times where I'm like, I can't until, like with the school thing, I always said I can't do it until you told me, have you like looked into this part? And I was like, I didn't even know that was a fucking option. And then I did, and now I'm here. So because I just was unaware, I just needed someone to be like, hey, how about this idea? And I was like, oh, okay.
Which is a great example of not giving up. Because sometimes it's not that you are a broken person in a general way of saying it, but maybe it's just your environment and the resources that you have access to.
Right.
So if you continue to, at minimum, allow yourself to try to find environments and keep asking questions and keep kind of doing that search at the very minimum, you may find the person along the journey that can help you. The thing is that, like, humans need community. We are creatures that are built on connection. And when we say that we're isolating or that we need to be alone, not in the whole concept of recharging energy, that's a whole different conversation. But it's like, oh, I do better alone, all these things. I'm like, no, you don't. I factually know that you don't. Like all of the research of humans shows that you don't do better alone. What you want to is that you want to feel control about people hurting you. And I'm so sorry that people hurt you so much that you think that the only option to minimize being hurt is to be alone. I encourage you to find support groups, find that kind of lean into resources. Do a quick little Google search of local support, or like there's a lot of free support groups. At least again, I can only speak on California. I know that there are out there in different areas, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be in person or physical ones. You could also find ones that are online. Like, I will admit that when I was at my lowest, I was attending Emotions Anonymous like every day. I had a sponsor, I got support, I have community. And that probably is what saved me. And like I received love, care, and compassion. And when I'm still feeling low, I jump into a meeting and they're right there and they're welcoming and with open arms and everything.
Yeah,
so
I never even heard of that. So that's another thing. See, it's this stuff that people are unaware of.
Yes, exactly. People are so unaware of resources, and it's heartbreaking. That's why Therapy Thursday exists.
Yeah.
So if you're here, you're already on the right steps, and may I encourage to keep coming around.
Yes. And that being said, it is that time to wrap up, because it is 8:40 and I am tired and hungry, and I hope I'm not getting COVID. Yeah. I was able to get through this all right, but we'll see, like I said, how I feel when I wake up in the morning. So thank you everybody in the Chatamaran for hanging out. Tiny Will says, been nice talking to you all. Hope you all have an amazing day. I hope you have an amazing day, and beyond that, an amazing week, an amazing month, an amazing year. And if you got anything else that you think of later, feel free to write it down, and we'll be back next Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. Thank you for the follow. And then, well, assuming I'm not like dying or something, you know what I mean. Yeah,
you
write it
can't
down.
do that. That's illegal.
Well, you never know. If I'm like super COVID and I can't get out of bed.
All
Super
the
COVID.
Yeah. So yeah, if there's something you think of, or anybody else that's watching this later on YouTube, if you think of something, yeah, feel free to join us 6:30 p.m. Pacific time on Thursdays. Write down your thoughts, bring them in.
Tell your friends.
Yeah, tell your friends too. If you're like, hey, that guy over there, probably you can use some help, send them this way. Yeah, and then that's pretty much it. If you missed a
Next week-
subject, yeah, if you missed anything and you want to go back and go, what were they talking about again? This will be up on Twitch for about 7 days before it gets deleted, but then you can check the YouTube channel. There's a link below the stream that'll take you there, and I'll post it up there. It should be up maybe by tomorrow, and you can kind of like go back through it and see if you can find what we were talking about. And if you're watching this on YouTube, check the link in the description below the video. Go to twitch.tv/kilted_report. Give us a follow. Come join us live. Okay, boom. Go ahead.
Next week, we're gonna give the floor to Wookie because there's been a few weeks that Wookie's been really wanting to talk about some stuff, and he's been really good at avoiding it. But I'm not gonna let that happen next week. So
You are putting words in my mouth. I have been content. I have written down things, and I am dealing.
So for the epic conclusion, join us next week.
I feel like this is a really, really weird episode of like Dragon Ball Z, like this series. Like we're just
Okay,
gonna like
but
go
I
back
don't
in
think so.
time. Last time.
Well,
on Therapy Thursday.
No, see, this works because you had some issue that you were worried about a couple weeks ago, and then we've spent the last 2 episodes just charging up, you know, like a Dragon Ball Z episode. So after like 3
Yeah, of
episodes, he'll
course.
finally throw the spirit bomb, and you know, we'll see what happens.
yeah, this is now the impact, and it's gonna be all. You know what we forgot? Silly. Like we're just building up, and it's all you next week, Wookie.
Oh, boy. Oh no.
Wait, laugh like that again.
You know what?
There
I have no qualms about how we play Magic now.
And you have to do the thing where you put your fingertips together like Mr. Burns. Excellent. All right.
Goodbye, everyone.
Yeah, so go.
Have a wonderful night.
So long, chat.
Bye.
Hey,
everyone.
Shaker, keep working on it. You come back next week. Write your thoughts down. We'll discuss it. All right, we'll see you
Okay,
guys later.
bye.
All right, bye.
Bye.